This is Algebra 1, Lesson 12a, Symbols of Inclusion. Previously, we worked this problem and we learned that you could work it two different ways. You could add first or you could multiply first. And since that would give us two different answers, we realized we need some more guidelines. We need to know, how do we know which answer is the correct answer? So mathematicians have taught us, have decided and agreed upon that we would do certain operations in a certain order. And we are to always do multiplications before we do additions. So if you do the 3 times 2, get the 6, and now we can do this addition, we find out that the answer is 10. Now, if I had wanted you to do the 4 plus 3 first, I couldn't have written it like this. I would have had to have some way to indicate, hey, I really want you to do the 4 plus 3 first. So one way to do that was to put it in parentheses, which is an example of symbols of inclusion. It's a way to include those two numbers together. So let's look at some other examples of symbols of inclusion. You have parentheses, you have brackets, you have braces like a C, a V, a C, backward C, V, backward C. Those are braces. A bar, and usually bars would be used when you have a fraction like this. Okay, so in this fraction, we can see they've got some parentheses. And that tells us in the numerator, do this multiplication first. Now, interestingly enough, if we didn't have these parentheses, we would still do that multiplication first. So sometimes it's just more of a grouping thing. The symbols of inclusion are used to kind of remind you or let you know what to do first. But here they wouldn't necessarily be necessary. In the denominator, though, if you didn't have these parentheses, you would have done this 5 times 2 first. So they are very necessary, okay? So we're going to also remember that this bar is a symbol of inclusion, and it doesn't look the same as the others. It doesn't enclose numbers, but in a sense it does, because it's saying this all goes together and you have to do it before you can divide by what's in the denominator. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's inside the parentheses first, copy everything else over. I do not need to keep the parentheses because I'm just adding those two numbers together. Okay, I'll show you where I would need to keep the parentheses, and that's in the denominator. Here's why. When I do this 2 minus 3, I'm going to get a negative 1. And I bring over the 5, and it looks like it's 5 minus 1. But we know it should not be because there's a multiplication indicated here with the 5 right up against the parentheses. So I know they wanted me to multiply 5 times whatever this answer is. So since that's true, I'm going to need to say 5 times this negative 1. That's where your parentheses or your symbols of inclusion are necessary, where you would have to carry them over, is because here there's no other operation indicated. It's just the 5 up against the parentheses, which means they want you to multiply. Okay, I wanted to emphasize that because a lot of people seem to struggle with that when they first learn it. All right, 4 plus 6 is 10, and 5 times negative 1 is negative 5, and we can divide that. That's just 10 divided by negative 5. Positive divided by negative is a negative, and 10 divided by 5 is 2, and your answer is negative 2.